Hi, welcome to the DecisionWise Engaging People podcast. This is Charles Rogel. I'll be your host/moderator today. I'm a senior consultant here at DecisionWise. Joining me is Dan Deka.
Charles, wonderful to be with you and with everyone else.
Thanks, Dan. So Dan is also one of our senior consultants here at DecisionWise. Today we're going to talk about a topic that we frequently measure on our employee surveys, and that is actually really important to employees. But we're going to talk about it from a manager standpoint. So the first topic here is caring. And so, Dan, can you first kind of define this topic of caring, what it means, and what we're trying to maybe improve or help managers with?
Sure. I think what we're trying to communicate, obviously, that we care about an individual and that they feel important, they feel connected to the organization. Yeah. And we all know that a lot of that happens through your supervisor, because a lot of your interactions with the organization is through your supervisor, kind of like your one point of contact. And so I think what we're talking about here is the things that a supervisor can do within the workspace to help someone feel valued and cared for.
Great. Already makes me feel uncomfortable because this isn't really my thing.
Well, maybe this will help.
Caring about people.
That's not true, but it is funny.
So anyway, as you think about this topic, then what would be your initial advice for managers on how to show employees that you care about them?
I think kind of at a base human level, we all want to be recognized. We're all individuals. We all bring unique things to the table. So with that in mind, I think the thing that a manager can do is spend some time to understand the unique characteristics of each individual. Yeah. And that actually sounds like a lot of work when you're like, hey, I've got 20 people that report to me. You mean I need to understand each of them individually? And I would say yes. It's very helpful. I think sometimes it kind of gets, you can kind of group them. Like there are some people that you know that they like when you're very direct. There are some people that work for you that like a lot of support. There are some people that just want you to ask them questions. So even though when I say in the beginning, like treat each one as an individual, which is a good practice in general, I think there are some kind of groupings that you as a supervisor can kind of get more comfortable with. But the main thing is just treat everyone as an individual and understand their unique needs.
So you have any examples that you're thinking of over your vast and illustrious career managing people?
Yeah, I was actually on a call today with an individual, and we were talking about his challenges as a leader. And he grew up kind of this place, this kind of like tough love kind of idea of like, okay, you may have reached these goals, but here's the next level of goals, and you're going to push. And he kind of experienced like, wow, I've done what you've asked, and you still want more. But that actually works for him. And so we just talked about you may have different types of employees that kind of tough love and that pushing may not work for. Mm-hmm. So some people may work really well with that. Other people may work well with what are your goals and what are you going to do to improve it. Some people may work better with just asking them questions around what they could do. And some people, you can kind of leave them in there. They're going to do their own thing to improve. So, that's just an example of how, a lot of times we're trying to get more out of our employees to reach higher goals. And there are different ways to help people along that path.
Yeah. So some managers might be thinking, okay, does this mean I have to come in every morning and hug my employees and see how they're doing? Does this mean I have to, another fear is that working with people and seeing someone kind of emotional or crying or upset, and how do you deal with that? That's kind of a hot potato there to kind of to mess with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can understand why people would feel concerned about some of those things, because if this emotional situation happens, how do I react to it perfectly? Yeah. Am I going to be prepared if someone's crying or some? But the reality of it is it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. You as a supervisor are good in dealing with it. You deal with it at home. You deal with it on the bus. You deal with it in traffic. And so we're actually, I think, more adept at dealing with some of those challenging and emotional situations. Yeah. And I think the main thing that I'd recommend for a supervisor to hold is if an emotional situation does happen, the way that you demonstrate caring is not by having the answer or the fix, but just by acknowledging something's going on and being there for that person. Sure. I think that takes off a lot of pressure. A lot of times I work with supervisors, and you can see that they're worried that if they don't have the right answer, they're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'm leaning more towards be there with your employees, talk with them about it, and maybe find that answer together.
Sure.
I think that takes off some pressure. But
you don't have to fix everything.
Yeah, you do not need to fix it. And that's not what caring means. Fixing it does not equal caring. Listening, being there with someone and acknowledging what they're going through and then talking with them about it, I think that resembles caring more to most people than just fixing something.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like a lot of managers I talk to, they have two jobs. They have to manage their team, then they have their regular day job that they're supposed to be doing. And so most of them find a lot of satisfaction in the people management part of this, like helping their people grow, learn, work through trials. But I think that one of the challenges is, time, of course, in terms of dedicating to things like that. But also, like you said, you're not trying to solve problems. You're really just trying to be there for people, show empathy. It's that emotional intelligence kind of component.
And I think another kind of side of this, too, is around development. A lot of times, I think supervisors don't talk with their employees about development because they don't necessarily have the complete answer.
Yeah.
And so they kind of hesitate and they steer away from that developmental conversation. And I always encourage them, you don't have to have the answer, but you need to ask your employees, hey, how's it going? What would you like to learn? Where would you like to be in a few years? And a lot of people don't have an answer to that. But even that alone, just asking them about that and say, hey, let's chat about that. What have you thought about? What have you enjoyed? And so it leans more of a coaching interaction rather than a telling interaction. And that's similar. You don't need to fix the development issue. You don't need to fix the emotional issue. But being there, asking questions, and listening, I think that equals caring.
Totally, because then people understand you're concerned about them, their success, their welfare.
Yeah, and a lot of times people are like, I got something going on, but I don't need you to fix it. But boy, I really would like someone to listen and acknowledge what I'm going through. And I'd be happy if you asked me some questions and we could try to kick around some ideas. So I think it all fits together pretty well there.
So any other things that you'd recommend in terms of helping managers show that they care?
I think just it's around that theme of like, be comfortable in treating them as individuals and seeking out what's important to them. If you ask somebody what's important to them, they will tell you.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, remember that, and I think people are pretty consistent around those things. So that additional investment, which at some point at the start sounds like a lot, but if people understand that you actually care about them, what's important to them, where they're trying to go, they definitely will be committed to you. It's a good thing for the business, and it just creates a much better work environment, a higher level of engagement.
Definitely. Great. Well, thanks, Dan, for your input. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to having you join us on another podcast about engaging people.